Hi guys, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. I've been getting an influx of requests to talk about today's movie. It is Ghostland. This is Pascal Lauchier's latest film, and some people have said it is their favorite horror film of 2018. Of course, Pascal is known for one of the most talked about horror films of the last 20 years, probably the most influential foreign horror film in the last 20 years. I'm totally gonna put that out there, especially if you like brutal stuff. Yes, I'm talking about Martyrs. It is in my top 5 of horror films of all time. This film, but we want to get into why it can also be a little bit damaging because he has done such a unique, iconic film, and how people can relate that to his image in this one, and how that can be damaging both in a good and a bad way. It can be damaging both ways, believe it or not. For me, Ghostland and Martyrs definitely share a comparison in total brutality, but that's where the comparisons stop. The film follows a mother and her 2 daughters on their way to live in a remote home that belonged to their auntie. It is drilled into you the daughter and main character Beth's main characteristic is her imagination and her passion for writing. And this plays a huge part in the film. Once they arrive to the house, they find themselves surrounded by creepy dolls and antiques. Then the unthinkable happens. 2 intruders enter the property and the brutality begins. Something I found really interesting about this film was that the setup was very quick. The violence starts 13 minutes in, and that is definitely showing you a taste for what is to come for the rest of the film. Because when these insane things happen at the start, you're wondering where the peak is gonna be. I should note that this film can really easily be spoiled, so I'm not gonna get too much into that side of it. I will go back to the storyline a little bit later, but let's talk about some techniques and some really good things inside the film. Lighting. The lighting in this film is amazing, and it definitely has to do with the set design, and I'll get into that in a sec. But you'll see lots of depth in shots because of the lighting, lots of long corridors with lamps everywhere, and I thought it was really interesting, and the light sourcing they did, I loved it. The set design was so fun and really interesting. This could be made into a haunted house, like a haunt attraction perfectly, because the creepy dolls in the house, it is so chilling and weird, but also in every scene there's something really interesting to look at. I found myself looking at the background more than looking at the characters interact. I think that the set design was just so detailed. It really gave the film its unique feel. I feel like without that, we have seen the kind of storyline happen before, so that was definitely what kind of kept me there. Another technical aspect that I really loved about this film was the camera work. I thought it was really interesting how many long shots they had, definitely like following characters through different rooms, and they did a lot of kind of tracking backwards and all that kind of stuff. They also really went experimental with some shots, and there's a scene in a field, that's all I'm gonna say without spoiling it, and it almost is like there's a body cam strapped to one of the main characters. It could almost be a GoPro. It does look like it doesn't fit, but I do appreciate every little detail that they really gave to the techniques in the film to give it that extra, I can't think of another word, but unique feel. The film just feels really unique because of all of these little details. Back with the main story and theme of the movie, obviously dolls play a huge part in this film and definitely have a lot to do with the disturbing factor in this film, which is quite high, but I'll leave that for you to figure out. But I do want to say that the dolls are not paranormal, and I thought that this was a really interesting way to look at this type of film. Sure, we've seen films like Maniac, which use the idea of, you know, in that case it's mannequins, but look at something really creepy and kind of break it down and don't go into that paranormal realm. I thought that this film was really good at doing that, and very cool to involve something that is very horror focused at the moment. Creepy dolls, we're all about it. Annabelle, obviously with Robert coming back to the scene and Chucky's always around, creepy dolls are such a horror staple, but I thought it was really cool that they kind of just incorporated that theme into the film. Once again, working on its unique look because the storyline is a little bit generic. I should be clear that the film is more of a psychological film than a paranormal one. So, in saying that, Martyrs is also a psychological film, and also The Tall Man, if you've seen that, it's by the same director. Great film if you haven't checked that out. I have done a review on that back when I first started on YouTube. But what I really want to say is that I think that people comparing this film to Martyrs can be dangerous in several ways. Obviously, expectation-wise, this film is not the same at all. But also on the flip side to that, giving the director, who I love, a lot of credit for Martyrs so much that you don't want to not like this film, and I don't think that people intentionally are rating this film high or saying it's their favorite film of this year because of that, but I do think that a lot of people asked me to review it because they thought, hey, it's the same director, it's gonna be like Martyrs. It's not like Martyrs at all, and I do think it's can be dangerous when you get that attached to a director that you feel the need to not dislike any of their films. As I have said before, sometimes a film is given to you in a nice package, nice little bow on top, and you can kind of feel that payoff afterwards, such as films like Martyrs, where the ending, although everything is not in a nice package, you are given such a payoff. I feel like with this film, there are so many unanswered questions that I needed something else, you know? Comparing it to Martyrs is really interesting for me because Martyrs is a film that has so much justification in the ending, and although it doesn't give you the nice, pretty package, it definitely gives you that feeling of, wow, I watched something that means something. Ghostland, without giving any spoilers, the idea of the film has definitely been done before, but in a way that it also gives you a payoff, where this film I feel like it's closed, but answers are not given, where I wanted a little bit of more justification or understanding. But unlike The Tall Man and like Martyrs, this film is similar in the way that the brutality and action comes through. Ghostland is definitely broken up into chunk-sized pieces of dialogue and character development, and then huge length blocks, building blocks of just complete brutality and action, and it goes there. It does take you that extra step, and I guess that's why we all love Pascal's Martyrs, and I guess that's where people can draw the similarities, but for me, storyline wise, that's where it stops. But it does have that really brutal, violent feel, and it feels like a lot of lines are crossed, and there's no really going back from the start, which I love. Before I get to my score, something really interesting about the film that I wanted to note. Actress Taylor Hickson got a really gruesome facial injury when she crashed through a door while filming, and she later sued the production company for the accident. Overall, I'd say that this film is a mix between Dolls, just for the look and feel, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but obviously in a little psychological way. I'm gonna give it a personal score of 6 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a scare score of 6 out of 10, and originality, I'm gonna give it a 3. And then for set design, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. If nothing else, this film is a beautiful piece of art to look at. The brutality is definitely there, it's disturbing. Just the storyline kind of lost me, and I just don't think it's original. But I do think some of you guys will really dig this film, and I know that because I read the comments every week. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Stay spooky.